I'm Julie Herman of Jaybird Quilt and Lazy Girl Designs, and welcome to the Gravity Block of the Month. We are now in month 8, and I have been here every month to give an overview of the blocks for that month. So month 8 is called Eclipse. And so we have a bluish version, how to have something dark for Eclipse. And we have a yellowish kind of raw umber version. And this block features some more strip piece. We did that a number of months ago. So we are going to use the hexamore ruler to cut half hexagons from our strip piece sets and some triangles. So let's get started.
Working from our gravity pattern books, we're on page 28 to make block 8, and we'll be following the cutting directions found on pages 8 and 10. So as I just mentioned, we are in month 8, which is Eclipse. And just as we have previous months, we are going to start with our 10-inch squares, cut our squares into our shapes, and then take our shapes and sew them into our blocks. And this month we are doing some strip piecing. We did this back in month 4, but I will go over it again. I'm going to use the yellow fabrics to demonstrate cutting for this block. And you will begin by cutting strips from 4 of your fabrics, and then we will use those strips to make our strip set. And it's very important that these strips are cut accurately at exactly 2 inches, and that when you sew them with your 1/4 inch, I like to do a scant quarter, which is 1 thread over, that this finished piece is 3.5 inches. As I mentioned, sewing an accurate strip set is essential so that the strip set will have the correct width to cut your half hexagons. So I wanted to just hop over here for a moment to show you what that looks like. So I have my 2 strips, and I am just going to place them right sides together and sew with what I often refer to as a scant 1/4 inch, which is just 1 thread over. So it's 1 thread less than a true 1/4 inch, and that way this piece will measure accurately to 3.5 inches, which is what we need for this block. Once I have sewn it, I'm just going to go ahead, nice straight stitch. Once I have that sewn, I can go ahead and press this seam open and check this piece to make sure that it measures 3.5 inches, and then head back on over to my cutting area to cut my half hexagon. So let's do a quick little measuring double check. There we go, 3.5 inches. So that's exactly what I need it to be for cutting my half hexagons. We did cut half hexagons a couple months ago, but I will give you a quick refresher on those as well. One thing to keep in mind for this month with the half hexagons, since they are strip pieced, you want to make sure that you have the orientation correct, because you can't necessarily just rotate it around. And what I mean by that is if you look at the block over here and these fabrics, this ends up being the smaller part of the half hexagon, and this ends up being the larger part. So oriented this way. If I cut it the other way, it's a different block. Not the end of the world if you make that mistake, but just something to be aware of. So since I have my 3.5 inch strip, I'm going to take my hexamore ruler and I'm going to line up my solid half hex line on the bottom. Oh, and see, so I flipped it around to show it to you. I looked and right away I knew that is the wrong way. So I want this to be the bigger part. And this is where having the letters and knowing that B ends up being the larger one based off of 28 will make sure that you end up with this correct. So that solid half hex line on the bottom of my strip set, and then my 6.5 inch hexagon line should be the top of my strip set. And, oh, my ruler just shifted. Go ahead and cut this, line it back up, and then cut it. Okay, and then I am going to simply flip my fabric over to the wrong side and line up my 6.5 inch half hex line all the way around. Again, my solid line down here and up there. And cut. And I will repeat that to get enough half hexagons for the block. Then in addition to my half hexagons, I need some triangles. So I definitely need triangles from my F fabric. So I'm going to grab that. And in this case, I need to cut 2 strips that are 3.5. So that's a total of 7. So I do have enough fabric to square it up and take off my little pinked edge. Again, personal preference. Just make sure you have enough fabric before doing this because there's not enough fabric every month. So spin this around and I'm going to cut 2 3.5-inch strips. Now, often people will ask me, can you cut multiple layers of fabric with my rulers, the Hexamore, the Sidekick, Super Sidekick at the same time? And what I always suggest is when something's new, do 1 layer at a time. But as you become comfortable with a ruler, you can do a couple layers. I suggest sticking with 2 or 3 and not going more than that because I found when you have more than 3, inevitably something will shift, and then the beauty of having things be perfectly the right size is no longer the case. So in this situation, since I need 3 triangles from each, I'm going to stack those on top of each other and then take my Hexamore and line up my 3.5-inch triangle solid line on the base of both of my strips. And cut. And this is where either a rotating mat or you have to very carefully rotate it because the last thing you want to do is shift things when you have multiple layers. Very carefully turn it around. Make sure it didn't move. If it did, you can always readjust them and cut. And then I just rotate my ruler up and down along the strip till I have as many triangles that I need. So there we go. So now I have 6 of these bright orange triangles. So I am going to continue to cut the rest of my half hexagons and my triangles, and then I will also repeat for my blue block. Thanks for watching. If this video was helpful for you, be sure to like it, leave a comment below, and subscribe to the channel. Show us your progress on your gravity blocks in our Facebook group. We'd love to see how you're coming along with your quilt. The link to the Facebook group is below. I'll be back here in the next video to show you how to piece block 8.